10 books I think would change your life. You'll find that a common theme between all these books is that it really focuses on a lot of self-analysis. Because how can you expect growth in yourself if you aren't honest with yourself? And if you don't continuously analyze your flaws, your mistakes, or the things you do right as well. In order to grow, you have to know who you are and what you're working with, which is a great time to promo my journal. Hello. Have you guys not got it yet? It's going back to full price very, very shortly when the printed versions are released. So get it now.
Hi sisters!
Before we continue, this video is sponsored by Shortform. It's a platform that summarizes books for you, and it is not just a really simple summary. They connect it to other books and they draw parallels and they give you questions to make sure that you're really understanding the book. It is so good because if you're like me and you want to read every single book out there and you can't, or you don't have time, a platform like this is so brilliant because it gives you the most concise summaries. And they also have every genre you can think of, and they publish new book guides and articles every single week. If you guys want to try it for free, you can get 5 days of unlimited access if you use my link. And then if you decide you like it, which you will, you can get 20% off your annual subscription to Shortform. So go check it out. Ego is the Enemy by Ryan Holiday. So basically Ryan Holiday talks about how usually in the business world, sometimes ego gets us further, right? But more often than not, it actually leads to a lot of failures. And when we are able to control our egotistical impulses, we get further in life. And I think this is so true, especially in relationships. Your ego is always present and you have to become aware of it and be able to control it. You need to recognize when it's your ego talking or when it's actually you. Holiday draws on the philosophies of Stoic thinkers, advising us to resist the urges of our emotions in order to maintain clarity of thinking. I think it's such a brilliant book. I read it a couple of years ago and it really left an impact on me, and I started to examine my own ego afterwards, and I would say that my ego is very in check now. I can always tell the difference when my ego is battling myself or when my ego comes out, and what I need to do to control that ego or to suppress it a little bit. Sometimes having an ego is healthy, but you know, everything in moderation, right? Everything needs to be controlled. You don't want to have no ego. Like, people sometimes will do acid, they have an ego death, and then they lose all sense of who they are and sense of the world. And I don't really think that would benefit me, and I don't think it would benefit you, but then again, you know what's best for you. The second one is The Happiness Hypothesis. Brilliant book. I think it's especially relevant to today because of social media. We place a lot of importance on the material world because we see everyone around us living these great lives on Instagram, on TikTok, but they're only showing us their highlight reel. But it can't help but make us feel a little bit inferior or reduce our happiness a bit because it's hard to control comparison. So the happiness hypothesis explores the nature of human happiness, blending the philosophical and theological wisdom of ancient thinkers with insights from the field of positive psychology. A lot of you guys ask me, Simone, if I study psychology, will I be more like you? Will I think the way you do? And I really do not advocate for getting a psychology degree because I don't think you will think this particular way just from a degree. You start to think differently when you, number one, you gain knowledge, 2, you apply that knowledge. Emphasis on the applying it, and 3, you actually have to think about what you're learning. When you start to examine everything through a critical lens and you develop your knowledge base, you're going to draw parallels between everything you read and learn. Also, I said this in my manipulation video, but if you want to get good at psychology and understanding humans, you first need to understand yourself. You need to understand, why do I do certain things? And then from reading like psychological research, you can connect that in a broader sense to how other people behave. And then, you know, you can draw links between that. I'm digressing a little bit, but yeah, happiness hypothesis. One thing I will stress, and you will find this to be a theme in the books that I recommend, searching for happiness and fulfillment outside of yourself is never going to make you happy. So it's not until you feel the void, you find your purpose, you know what your morals are, your virtues, your values, and you live by that and you can create a life of your own, that is when you're going to find happiness. But this book dives into it at a much, much deeper level. So my king, Joe Dispenza. Number 3, Joe Dispenza, Becoming Supernatural. I am the biggest Joe Dispenza fan. Love him. That's my king. That's my guru. I recommended Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. Brilliant book. Now I recommend Becoming Supernatural. I'm actually rereading it at the moment, and if you're into manifestation, he goes into this but in a very scientific way. Also, it's a lot about healing your body if you have illness, how to heal it, how your chakra systems work. What I like about Joe Dispenza is for the people who aren't necessarily spiritual, or they're not into the more of the woo-woo stuff, he puts everything through a scientific lens. So instead of calling it chakras, he calls it your energy centers. Instead of your third eye, he calls it your pineal gland. Instead of manifestation, he calls it creating from the quantum field. This should actually be my #1 book recommendation. Life-changing. Love it. I will read it till the end of time. I will love you till the end of time. Okay, 101 essays to change the way you think. It explores the interplay between your thoughts, your perceptions, and the way you experience life. The author argues that unwanted life circumstances aren't to blame for your bad feelings. Only your thoughts about these circumstances are. There's only one solution to make you feel better, which is to change the way you think. Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny? How all of my videos talk about this, and some of you still don't get it. Some of you gotta read this book and drill it into your heads. So part 1 of the book explores how your thoughts and feelings influence how you interpret your experiences. Part 2 explores how social conditioning influences the way you unconsciously think about yourself, other people, and your experiences. Part 3 clarifies how you've been conditioned to ignore your own needs and instead seek external validation. Part 4 presents methods to help you become more conscious of your thoughts so that you can learn to take control of them and improve the way you feel. Period. Reality transurfing. Bit of manifestation. Well, it is about that, but it's a lot to do with just creating your reality. It does relate to Joe Dispenza a lot because reality transurfing talks about how there's one universe and there's an infinite amount of realities, and depending on our emotions, that's going to dictate what we get in life. And that is manifestation, because even Joe Dispenza talks about you can't create in the unknown unless you have that heightened emotion to match it. For example, you want to create a certain experience like going to Italy. You have to match that frequency, that emotion, and then you draw it into your experience. Joe Dispenza talks about the scientific theory behind it, and then reality transurfing, not so much. It is different from law of attraction though. So like I said, when you get into this stuff, watch a lot of videos, read a lot of different books from different categories, genres like science, spirituality, gurus like Osho, and you'll see how it overlaps. Okay, The Power of Your Subconscious Mind, another good book. Your subconscious mind dictates everything in your life. If you don't understand your subconscious mind, just read this book, or at the very least, read the summary of this book, The 48 Laws of Power. I really like The 48 Laws of Power because I think it explains human dynamics very well and how sensitive humans are and how sensitive social dynamics can be. Whether or not you read this book and you apply it, because some of it is manipulation, it's a little bit dirty. I think it's just good to have this knowledge, and when you have this knowledge, you'll start to observe it in other people and social situations. And I explained this in my manipulation video, but when you start to observe these things and you put this knowledge into practice, that is when that knowledge is yours and it becomes very easy to execute without having to excessively plot. These things will just come naturally to you. The 48 Laws of Power is really great because I'll give you an example, in a non-manipulative setting. When I was 19, I had my first in-office job because I had always worked for myself prior. So it was this small business I did marketing for, and it was a family-owned business, right? There was the husband who was the CEO, and then the manager who was his wife, who was my boss. Total fucking bitch, may I add. Anyways, and then her son worked there as well. She would never let me do my job, and they put me into everything. I did graphic design, I did marketing, full stack marketing. I did everything for them. And she would never agree with what I'm saying, even though her husband would agree. And I really couldn't understand why at the moment, but she would always pick a battle with me. And it's because I was this young girl who was so much more skilled than her. Objectively, I was more skilled than her, and her husband was agreeing with everything this young girl is saying and did not let my master shine. I outshined my master. I don't remember what rule this is in the 48 laws of power, but it's never outshine your master. Make them shine. I didn't understand that. And in the end, it really bit me. I never split the difference. It is a negotiation theory and strategy book. Why am I recommending this? Because everything in life is a negotiation. And this book also talks about psychological theory a little bit, and it teaches you to think from the perspective of other people, which I think some people struggle to do. Good negotiation happens on the emotional level of the brain, not the rational level. Your job as a negotiator is to practice and display empathy towards your counterpart by understanding their emotions, learning to see the situation from their point of view, and ultimately getting them to feel comfortable with you to let their guard down. Important book. Need I say more? Need I say less? Need I say more? I always get that wrong. The Surrender Experience. I really like this book, and I'm gonna reference this book in my new video actually. Basically about this hippie college kid who later on in life became a CEO, multi-millionaire, and what he's learned along his journey. And he just talks about surrendering to life, saying yes to all the experiences presented to him, and just trusting the universe and trusting the way things are meant to unfold. I'm going to talk about this in my new video, but that is a realization I've had recently, where sometimes the way you want something to go is not how it's meant to go, because the universe has divine intelligence that we do not have. And when you let go and you allow and you trust in the divine, or if you want to God, if you're religious, you trust in your God, you are so much freer. You're no longer pained by your mistakes or the things you've lost, because you can accept that these aren't meant to be for me then. It's not in my pathway and greater things are coming. I have this perspective where I just believe that everything is happening for me. The final one is the Untethered Soul. The Untethered Soul has similarities with the Power of Now in a way where they teach you that you're not your thoughts, you're not your ego, and it teaches you how to untie yourself from these restrictions and soar in life. I'm just going to quickly read you this short form, which I like. So a little snippet of the book. You and your inner roommate. So currently your life is not your own. It belongs instead to what you might think of as an inner roommate, and that's the voice that lives in your head and is constantly criticizing everything you do, or it's saying you can be better, you don't have enough. And your inner roommate is a defense mechanism. This book will teach you how to notice your inner roommate, shut it off. That's kind of what the Power of Now does as well. And it also teaches you non-resistance and becoming happy. In a lot of the books I've read, I've noticed the theme that, yes, happiness, it does not come from material things. And if it does, it's probably because we're on a hedonic treadmill, and that happiness is short-lived and it will leave. We get happiness from really like the small things in life. Gratitude, appreciating everything we have, having a purpose. This is a huge emphasis. I don't remember the book. It wasn't that life-changing, but the book basically said people without a purpose are more likely to die early and be depressed. So find a purpose in life. I'm not going to get into any of my other theories. Guys, check out my second channel. Turn on notifications for this channel. I'm going to start posting YouTube shorts soon, because you know, you guys have been missing my clownery videos, and I can't post them anymore because the algorithm doesn't support it. So they're all going to be on my YouTube shorts. And don't forget to check out short form, life-changing, and go check out my journal. Ich liebe dich. Tschüss.
Norman Rockwell. No hype under. It's just me and you. I've got with you on my list. Baddest bitch of the neighborhood kids. Son of bang kiss. You're in the eye, I like the fire, and as the summer fades away, nothing more can stay. You right eye to we make it work. You're beautiful and I'm insane. We're American made. Give me Hallmark, one dream under one lover. Make me happy and blue. Norman Rockwell. No hide under. I'll cover it's alright. It's just me and you. Oh God, miss you on my list. It gives me a little kind of speech on the street with the neighborhood kids. Selling off they think you're in the yard. I like the fire as the summer fades away. Anything we can say. You right eye to we make it work. American made. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Selling off bang kiss. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Signing off bang kiss. Oh God, miss you on my lips. Gives me a little kind of speech on the street with the neighborhood kids. Signing off bang kiss. Yeah. 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 It's on and off, bang, bang, kiss, kiss. Yeah. You should probably come over. Hanging around now, you should probably coming over. Oh God, this is on my list. It's me, a little Venice bitch. Touch me with your fingertips. It's me, a little Venice bitch. Back in the garden, we're getting high now because we're older. And I love all my diamonds, better rims and a clover. Whoa, 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 whatever, everything, ever. Whoa, 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 whatever, everything, ever. Whoa, 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 whatever, everything, ever. Whoa, whoa, whatever. Me, myself, I like diamonds, better rims and a clover. Over and over, honey. Over and over, honey. Over and over, honey. Over and over, honey. If you were mine, I'd be jealous of your love. If you were mine, I'd be jealous of your love. If you were mine, I'd be jealous of your love.